Welcome back to the $1 million Tipping Point podcast. Today we have Meagan Hernandez, and she is going to talk about all things financial, I think, which I actually have not had any accountant / bookkeeper like background or even services industry person on this podcast before. So you're going to be telling us about a brand new industry, which is going to be super exciting for our listeners, I hope, and for me. And I hopefully will learn something new because accounting and bookkeeping is not my strong point.
Yeah, I understand. That's awesome.
So again, this podcast episode is brought to you by Corporate to Contract, a place to go if you have corporate or office experience. It is my business and I love it. And I help coach women who have corporate and office experience to become a freelancer / online contractors. And again, if you're loving this podcast and you're a regular listener, you'll want to sign up for our Thursday newsletter, the Tipping Jar of Wisdom. You get exclusive content. Thursday newsletter actually goes out more than a Thursday, but you get the exclusive content on a Thursday straight to your inbox. And the guests like Meagan give you actionable tasks on growing your business. So you can find all that on Instagram if you connect with me at Virtually Kiri or LinkedIn, Kiri Mohan. I'm actually probably more active on LinkedIn than Instagram. And you can sign up through my bio. So here we go. Meagan. Meagan is a Southern-born, sweet tea-loving mom of two. She's also a holistic tax strategist, accountant, and bookkeeper coach. Meagan's passion lies in teaching and implementing her tax savvy bookkeeping method for small business owners and bookkeepers throughout the U.S. Meagan's methods that she has shared with thousands of people in her 4 years of business focus on compliance, otherwise known as quote unquote, following the rules, tax strategy for savings, and planning for financial growth and success for both the business and the individual. So I'm pumped. Like I said, this is something that I feel like people either love it or they shy away from it. I don't want to say hate it because you need it.
Yeah.
It's more like people are like, yeah, I don't want to touch any of that financial stuff. That's not for me at all. I do also want to say, like you, I noticed you live in Myrtle Beach, which is one of my family and my favorite vacation spot ever. And
wow.
In 2021, we ended up staying there for a month with my daughter, and we were in the northern part near the Apache Pier. I don't know if that rings any.
Very cool.
So, yeah, we loved it. So tell us a little bit about your business and how you started Impactful Numbers, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but Impactful Numbers, you work with clients, right? And that is your business as as an accountant and bookkeeper. And then Tax Savvy Pros is how you teach others to grow a successful accountant and bookkeeper business online, right?
Yes. So how it kind of came about in the separation, I am super, I love the tax side. I love tax strategy. I believe that tax strategy is important in the day-to-day bookkeeping and having knowledge of that. So taxes is still at the forefront, whether I'm working with clients directly in my firm or I'm teaching people how to do their own bookkeeping. So taxes is still super important. The reason I broke it into a separate business and named Impactful Numbers is because I am also very passionate about the growth and success in the future. I take a holistic approach with all of my clients that I do the done for you services. And that means that I get to know them as a person, as an individual, their goals, their dreams, what they really want to do with their lives. And I make sure that their business works for them and that their business is set up in the best way to help them achieve those personal financial goals as well. So taxes are still super important, super number one in my book. There's just more to finances than just taxes. So I wanted to make that distinction in my two business models.
I think my knowledge of this, the extent of my knowledge, which is probably sad admitting on air, but it's basically like, I know that, if I spend more money in my business, I'm more likely to get a refund.
Yes. Yes.
See, that's like the extent of my knowledge.
That's correct.
And my husband is in sales and has commission. So a lot of times we owe taxes.
Yeah.
And what drove this thing home to me was when last year I took an actual like a maternity leave because I had my son and I wanted to take 4 months off. And so I hired subcontractors, I had replacements for me and all of that. And my husband at the end of the year switched jobs. So there was like a little bit of a change and a dip in finances. And we got a refund for the first time in years. And I asked my accountant, I was like, why did this happen? And he said, because you spent a lot of money in your business and your husband didn't make commission right away. And I was like, oh, so spending money in my business is a good thing. Okay. Cause you can't always do that. You need to pay yourself. But in this instance,
you have to be strategic about it. And there's so many things that go into it. You're right, because you have to be able to pay yourself enough to live on. And you also have other things going on like vacation, maternity leave, saving for retirement, like all these different things. But the more that you pay yourself and the more that you pull out for your own purposes, the more in taxes will come as well. So it's all a little bit of a strategic game that you have to know how to play the game. So that's why it's super important to work with a professional. I'm glad to hear that you do.
Yes, I really like him. So talk to me a little bit why I would like to know your personal decision on why you still have the client business and the teaching business, because I've interviewed a lot of people on this show who had, a service-based client business, went out to teach other people their framework, their method, whatever it is. Right. And they ended up leaving the clients behind. But I like actually seeing that you're still doing both. So why are you still doing both?
Yeah. Well, and I've weighed that option. People have definitely, like mentors have definitely asked me, and I've had to make decisions on which one to focus on more at different times. But I really have a passion for helping people grow. And yes, one of the things I do is I teach bookkeepers how to not only do bookkeeping, but how to take my approach in that holistic method and working with clients. And I love to teach them how to help their clients grow, but I still feel a calling to do it myself too, especially for high income earners. A lot of times that kind of scares bookkeepers when it's an individual that makes, over $1 million themselves or a couple $1 million, because there's a lot of money. I don't want to use the words to play with, but when you're doing the strategic game of like, how much do you spend? How much do you save? How much do you invest? What are you putting where? It's a lot more money to work with. And so that scares a lot of people. And I know what to do with that. So I like to be the one to go in and help them, because they deserve to save money too. They deserve to save as much in taxes as possible and make sure they're setting themselves up for, the perfect retirement that they want to have as well. So I love the teaching, but I also love the doing.
And is it something, I might be totally wrong here. Is it something, do the rules and regulations change often or no? Because I know that some people like to stay in the client work because they are in a business where things change often enough and they feel like they need to teach their student. They need to be in it in order to be able to teach. Yeah.
So if you do give up the done for you, you still have to, if you're going to be teaching, you still have to stay really up to date year over year with any of the changes, all the articles that come out. So do things change often? Yes and no, they can. They can change at any point during the year. And there are typically at least a couple of changes with on the tax side, what's deductible, especially in the last couple of years with what we've dealt with extra stimulus funds and extra money and deductions that have come out from the government, what the rules are around those, who qualifies, when it ends, when it starts. That's been very, very confusing, even to us on the professional side, because they put out an article talking in, legal language almost about what it means, and it's up to our interpretation. So that's a little bit of the scary part too, is yes, your tax professional, they know what they're doing, but they also have to interpret a lot of what the law is and use their discretion. That's why you may see differences between different professionals you work with. because things do change often and we have to stay on top of it and use our best discretion.
So what made you decide then to teach your framework and your method to other people? Were you getting a lot of questions about it, or other people interested? How did that happen? Was it local or was it online? People coming to you and saying, no, I like what you're doing.
The funny thing is I started out teaching small business owners that wanted to know for themselves. And so I started developing almost a curriculum for, because I kept doing the same thing. So I didn't want to keep using my hours and my time. So I wanted to record some sessions and use it. But what I found was a lot of bookkeepers coming to me asking if I could show them as well. And what ended up happening was there was more of an interest from the bookkeepers. So the reason that I wanted to keep pursuing that and keep going down that road is I discovered that since I had the tax background and the tax knowledge, I was integrating tax strategy into the bookkeeping without even thinking about it. And I didn't realize that until I worked with bookkeepers that didn't know tax strategy. And so I felt a need to teach them those basic things, not how to prepare taxes, but how taxes work and how to implement that strategy for themselves. Because I truly believe there's a gap. There's a huge gap in the industry between the bookkeeper and the tax professional. The bookkeeper is the one that uses their discretion for all of the numbers, all of their reports, how to categorize things, everything, and they hand it over to the tax preparer. Well, the tax preparer just goes off of the reports, trusting that that is the accurate information. So not to say that people don't know what they're doing, but I think that there's just a missing level of knowledge there. And I want to make sure and teach as many people as possible so that we can serve clients better.
Can you clearly laid out the difference between a bookkeeper, an accountant, and a tax preparer?
Yeah. So in an industry job, like a large corporation, you would have multiple levels of roles. Now it's going to look a little bit different for small business owners because one person may cover several roles. But traditionally, a bookkeeper is the one who first sees the transaction, whether it's money coming in or money going out, and they're the one who determines what it is. And that key role of determining what it is can affect what tax deduction it is later, just to note. But they determine how to categorize it. They do bank reconciliations to make sure that all the numbers are accurate, and they prepare the financial reports to either hand over to the owner or hand over to their superior to kind of analyze it. So they do basic transactions, basic data entry. And again, a lot of bookkeepers go beyond that, but that's like more traditional. An accountant is one who goes in and analyzes the reports and helps the business owner make decisions based on that data. They are a lot of times the one that creates a budget or does some forecasting. So they look at the reports and the numbers and they help you determine how much more money you're going to get or lose in the coming months, and help you determine, purchases that you can make and lots of bigger, larger business decisions. A tax preparer is just someone that takes the financial reports from the end of the year and prepares your annual income tax return that is due April 15th, or for a lot of businesses is due March 15th. So a tax preparer, sometimes they don't know bookkeeping, they don't do bookkeeping, but you can have combinations of lots of different things.
Okay, that was very helpful. I mean,
good.
Because I see a lot, like service providers looking for an accountant / bookkeeper.
Mm-hmm.
So in my head, that always seems like the same thing. But
yeah, and a lot of people don't know what to ask for.
Yeah.
So hopefully this helps educate a little bit for when people are looking.
So then how long did it take you to build your course to teach this to other people? Because it sounds like you were recording it for small business owners, and then you had a lot of like, but people in the financial industry coming to learn from it. How long did it take you to make the course, and how many modules is the course?
So the course is 10 modules now. I've built on it over time because my course teaches bookkeeping basics. It teaches how to start a business, which is a whole separate thing, and then it teaches my specific method. So it's got a couple of different components all tied together, more so than maybe a basic course that you would find that's like maybe 4 to 6 modules. So anyway, it's about 10 modules. There's several bonuses in there about different stuff too. And I'd say it took me about 2 months to get it ready. I did try to record it in chunks where I would, do my outline and prepare everything I was going to say, and then go in and wear one shirt for recording, change my shirt, my hairstyle, go do another recording. So it looked like it was all separate days. But that was a lot more efficient to just sit down, just a couple of days to make those recordings. And it helped me remember what I've already said and what was still missing. So I didn't do any duplications or skipping information that suddenly came to me that I wanted to make sure and put in there.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. So talk to us a little bit about how you decided to even get down this road. I mean, if we go on your webpage, we see that you had your son and
Yes.
you didn't really want to be working 9 to 5 anymore. It says within 2 months, you were able to quit your 9 to 5 and you turned them into a paying client, which is ideal. That did not happen to me. They were like, what? No. Within 5 months, you replaced your income working part-time. And within 7 months, you exceeded your previous income. So that's quite impressive. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that and what it looked like to be doing this job on the side? What were your hours like? Were you just spending like mornings, evenings, especially when you have a young son? How did you manage your time?
Yeah. So when I first started, I was so desperate to quit my job. I was at the point, I had a 5-month-old and I had just gone back to work after maternity leave, and different people take that different ways. Some people bounce back right away. They love to go into work and they're so excited, but everybody experiences a little bit of that. Oh, I don't want to leave my baby. Well, that never really went away for me when I went back to my 9 to 5. And I was just so obsessed with somebody else is raising him. They're going to get to see all of his firsts. I'm missing out. I'm not a good mom. I started going down that path. And so I was so desperate to find a way to stay home that when I realized that I could start a freelancing business and do what my skill set that I was already doing in the industry, but doing it from home, like I didn't even think about making $1 million or working with ideal clients. Like I didn't even think about all that in the beginning. It was just, I need to make enough money to help my husband with our bills, because we were a 2-income household. He's a teacher. He can't afford to pay all of our bills himself. And so I knew the exact number I needed to not have any excess, but to just pay the bills. And I went all in. So when I say all in, I didn't go out all in with my time. Like it wasn't 24/7. I was working on this, but I went all in with my dedication and my determination that I was going to make this work. So yes, there were some evenings that I was on the computer, researching, meeting people online, networking, things like that. And on the weekends as well. Yes, there was definitely a season of hustle. That's not the culture that I try to talk about now, and definitely not what I try to do now. But I definitely did go through a season of hustle and working very hard so that I could just bring in enough money.
Well, in my coaching, and when I'm actually building a course too right now to try to reach more people, I work with women who have a corporate job usually, and they're looking to get out, and same thing as you, actually same thing as me. And I tell them, like, you're working a full-time job. You're going to have a different schedule than someone who might be, say, a stay-at-home mom or work retail
Yes.
and have different hours. Like, you are going to be working in the morning or in the evening or whatever works best in your zone. You're going to be probably working on the weekends to get in as much as you can, but it'll be a short time period. Just like you said, it'll be a short hustle mode, and hopefully within a year that will be done and you'll have a lot more time and you'll kind of go back to whatever normal you want to have. Yeah. But it's true. And I think a lot of people kind of like they try to say that, like it can happen right away, but they don't really say, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of your time too.
Especially in the transition of deciding when you're going to quit the job and go full in, like besides all the mindset stuff that's included with that, like, that's scary to think about. But financially, really figuring out when you can make that jump. And I will say I did have some savings saved up. So I wasn't as scared to make that leap from full-time job to full-time freelancing, because if I had quote unquote failed and not been able to find clients, lost the clients that I had gotten, I had a little bit of savings. So I'm like, that could get me through to about 4 months or so. And then I would have to find another job, which would really stink, but I felt like I had a little bit of cushion.
Yeah, it was a buffer almost. Yeah. So let's talk then a little bit about your mindset. And what was your mindset like that you needed to kind of shift in the beginning? And then when you started growing your business, when you had your own business, you had to grow and you took it to 7 figures. Let's talk about those two mindsets.
Yeah. So, when I first started, it's funny because I'm an accountant and in the industry, I took a lot of pride in my work and took things very seriously. If anybody knows an accountant, they're very serious typically. And I had a lot of pride, to be honest with you. And something I've had to learn over time was I have to let that pride go. I have to just stay very humble in what I'm doing. And I learned that really hard, which is funny because I actually sent an email out to my audience today about this exact story. But about 6 months into my business, I had a real slap in the face with a client that did not want to pay more. I needed to raise my rates to really start to grow and decrease the time that I was spending on the work. And he said I wasn't worth it. And so that was a huge, and I thought he loved me. And, I thought that he was just so excited, and he really did value my work, but at the rate he was paying. And so when he said I wasn't worth it, I was like, I crumbled, for a little bit, and I wallowed in it and I cried, and I went to my mentors and talked to them. And then I decided that, no, I know what I'm doing. I am the professional here. And I know none of you can see it, but I actually have a sign in my office. And this is the quote that has changed the trajectory of my business. Be the person now that you want to become. And so I heard someone say that in a training, and it just hit me. And I said, I want to be the go-to accountant in the online space. But what I meant was my space is online. And so I started showing up as the go-to professional in the accounting, bookkeeping, tax realm. Anything I didn't already know, because nobody knows everything. Anything I didn't already know, I researched it. I found out how to do things. I learned more and more. And I just showed up as this confident accounting professional. I made sure to use those words when I answered questions, when I spoke to people. I met with community leaders, and I made sure to try to meet the right people, and just started showing up as that professional, just starting to get others to see me as that professional. So that was my first big mindset shift.
And it's very similar to, I've interviewed quite a few women on on the show that talk about law of attraction and manifestation a lot. And that is the first step they always say to manifestation is just be that person you are, like that you want to be that person, embody that person right now.
Oh,
and
funny.
there's something to be said for it, whether or not you agree or believe in that.
Right.
There's something to be said about that. When I started my first business as a virtual assistant, I remember the exact day I told someone I was a virtual assistant when I was not. I had no clients. I was like still working my corporate job, but like I'd registered my business and I was trying to make it work, and I was taking the dog for a walk, and I saw these people all the time. Our dogs met, as they do, and we're playing. And then they asked me what I did. And I said, I'm a virtual assistant and this is how it works. And this is what I do. And I was like, oh my God, I'm lying. But like, you're not at the same time, because what you're doing is is what you want to be. And it doesn't matter if you don't have any clients, you can call yourself that and you are one, and that is what you're going to be. So it is. And like you said, then from there, you just start gaining confidence. Like I am this person, the service provider.
Right. The confidence comes. Yeah, exactly. It's not there day one, and it's not for anybody. And I think that's what some people, they don't realize, that other people don't have the confidence that they're missing. It's just that they've grown it. You know what I mean? So you just have to keep doing it and the confidence will come.
And it's an important lesson, I think, when you have to pivot your business or change your business for whatever reason, to look back and remember. And it comes with time to say, like, you didn't know what you were doing before, but then you grew into it. Now you do know what you're doing. So then let's talk about the mindset. When you had your business, you grew it, you'd gotten through that hurdle of, I know what I'm doing. Let's talk about then growing it to seven figures. Did your mindset have to shift at all during that time?
Oh, so many times. I think every time you reach a new level or a new obstacle comes, and every time there's a new obstacle, you have to work through it. I am a very wear my emotions on my sleeve kind of person. I'm very attuned with my emotions. And so every time something comes up and every time something happens, I'm like, how do I feel about this? Am I okay with this? Do I need to work through it? I've had to work with a lot of mindset coaches over the years, a lot of life coaches, to help kind of figure out how to go inward and really work through how I'm feeling and how to make sure that I'm okay with the direction things are going. I will say it was probably when I hit about 500,000 that I started encountering situations where it was harder to make a decision. It was harder to choose door A or door B. Before that, I went really fast, and it was like whatever I felt was the right thing to do, I just went with it, like really quickly. But when I reached about 500,000, it was like, okay, these are big decisions. This is like a big course, expensive course that I would need to get to learn this new skill, or this is an expensive mentor, but they could help me reach the next level. And so those decisions started getting a little harder. I needed to really spend more time doing what they call CEO days, where you're really looking at the big picture of your business and what direction you want to go with it. And then, so that was a big mindset shift for me at about 500,000 again. That's when I realized things started getting a little harder again. And I really had to become a CEO. I couldn't just be that fast worker bee,
Have you done that fast worker bee since and regretted it? Or has your gut or intuition always still led you right?
Yeah. So the reason I learned that lesson when I reached that point was because I made a bad decision. I invested in a program that was very shiny object type thing. But I didn't do enough research to see if it was the right decision for my business. I didn't do enough research to see if they had worked with my type of business before, if they had worked with my ideal client before, and they hadn't. And so they almost treated me like a test, a case study, like a test subject for my industry with my ideal client, doing marketing, running ads, and it didn't work. And so they saw it as, oh, well, we're just going to, take this approach now or take this approach. I'm like, I thought that I was hiring you because you knew how to help me. And that's when I realized that I couldn't just hand my money to anybody and trust anybody to help me. I had to really make sure that I was making those smart business decisions.
I've been there.
Yeah.
Where it's like they're just very convincing. And
they're good marketers.
Like, oh man, I definitely need their help, their services.
Yeah.
I mean, I know, for instance, I hired someone once that I just don't think was worth the money for what I was looking to do. I think they helped me with one aspect of my career and my business, but I don't think it was worth all of that money. I think I could have had 2 sessions of their work instead of like 10 or whatever.
Yeah. And I learned a lot about clear expectations and not just expressing and communicating what my expectations are, but also finding out the other party's expectations of me and finding out, exactly what all the parameters are, what's included. And that it's the same way with working with clients too. Like communication is so, so, so important. And I'm learning that over and over again. And every time I work with a new client, because nobody's the same. Nobody you hire, nobody that hires you, everybody's communication and expectations are going to be different.
And contracts are so important. I always tell
my,
the people who join my groups, I'd say, like, contracts is one of my favorite sessions to do, because I feel like I've learned so much over the years of like where people will find loopholes that you didn't even know they could find loopholes. Or like you're just basically your scope, your expectations, whatever. They're not clear down to like some weird detail as clear as they should be. Yep,
yeah.
I've been there. So let's think about, you're talking a little bit about spending money and making money. What do you think has been the best investment? You've kind of gone into like your worst investments. What do you think has been the best investment as you've grown your business?
I definitely, I've worked with a lot of mentors and I've worked with several people that are very good, but I think the best investments that I've made are when I hire a contractor to work with me and I invest my time and money in training them. I've hired a lot of people. I have worked with a lot of people over the years now. And what the best person to look for, if I could give some advice for the best type of person to hire in your business, it is somebody that fits your company culture and truly believes in your mission, even if their skill set is not quite at the level that it needs to be. If they have the basics, if they have the roots to grow that skill and you're able to invest in them and help them grow that skill, whether it is, me hiring a subcontractor bookkeeper and helping them learn everything they need to do to work for me, or even if it is me hiring a website designer. Now, I don't know how to design websites myself, but there are people that do, and there are courses. And if I can invest time in helping them learn, and they know exactly my mission and what I want to say and my voice, we're going to be a lot happier working with each other. And it's going to be a lot more long-term and fruitful relationship because they truly care. They've shown that they truly care about my business.
I read a great LinkedIn post today by someone named Elizabeth, who I've known through my network, but she's in HR. And she said she was like, when you think about culture, instead try to think of it as community. Like you're building a community in your employees or contractors or whatever your team is, right? It's building a community. It totally reframed the way I thought about a team. And it's true, because I hear a lot about culture, and I agree with culture and being a good fit with culture. But then she said, when you're creating it as a community, it just gives this extra little like, oh, we all need to look out for each other. We all need to help each other.
Yes.
I love that. How many people do you have on your team now?
I currently have a team of 10. I have several subcontractors that help with the work. I have an operations manager. I have a regular virtual assistant that does some administrative stuff. And I have a client we kind of changed her title around a little bit, but she is our client success manager, client happiness manager, the one to step in and make sure that everybody is still like doing good and that we're on track. That they want to keep working with us. So
what do you think is one of the biggest challenges you've had when hiring?
It definitely, I learned the hard way, and it wasn't after one hire. And unfortunately, it's been after several hires, learning that I need to hire for the culture and the community over the skill. I have hired highly skilled people that it just didn't work out because they didn't agree with my processes. They didn't agree with my methods, because I do have a little bit different methods, like I talked about with my holistic approach, and that taxes are applicable at the bookkeeping level. Like they just were not on board with that. And so, I've hired students of mine as well. And that's been really interesting because they're already open for me to mold them and shape them into what I need. But sometimes I also find that they think that I'm going to be their mentor, which I want to be their mentor, but I also have other things I'm working on. So, it's been tricky. And again, just setting those expectations from the start and me being crystal clear on what I need and making sure to ask a lot of questions around that. And not just hiring the first person I meet because I need a project done by tomorrow.
How do you build a culture when you have contractors and they might have different clients too, and you're not their only, you're not an employer, basically? How do you build this culture? What do you do to establish it and to make it flourish?
Yeah. So all of the people that are currently with me have been with me 6 months or more. Some of them a lot longer, some of them up to 2 years. And we meet once a month. We talk daily, and we talk about big picture stuff too. I bring them in on, sometimes the struggles that we're having in the business. Sometimes they're brought in on client concerns and complaints so that they can see how we're going to resolve that. They can help come up with ways that we are going to have, an SOP for resolving an issue. They help shape that SOP so that it becomes something we use in the future. And then once they see we are doing things this way because we want to have this impact on the clients altogether. We want the clients to view us as professionals, yes, but also kind, forgiving, very responsive, very apologetic if something happens. We don't want to take a prideful approach or a condescending approach. Like that is not something that is ever okay, because we want them to feel special, because they are. And, just helping being involved with shaping all of that too.
How do you think your leadership and management style has changed over the years?
A lot. I will admit I was very weak in the leadership area, even though I've had some supervisor positions in my 9-to-5 jobs. It was different because I was never the owner before, right? I was never the top person. So there are very hard conversations that you have to have when you're the boss. But I also, in the beginning, I treated people more like employees, and contractors are very different from employees. It's not just a 1099 employee role. Like they are business owners themselves. And like you said, they have other clients, they have other options. So I have come to realize, and something I'm teaching my students for when they need to hire, is you have to make the job is not just like, okay, I put a job out there and everybody in the world is going to want to take it. No, you have to make it very appealing for the contractor too. There has to be perks, there has to be rewards, there has to be praise. Like you have to make sure that they feel like they want to be there. And I viewed it opposite when I first started. And it took a while for me to learn that.
What kind of, do you have any perks that you offer your contractors?
Yeah, like we give birthday presents, we give anniversary presents, we give incentives, gift cards, we give bonuses. We have had some employees that we did hire on as employees, and so we had pay time off and vacations, and we've done maternity leave. We've worked that out for a couple of people now, have had babies since working with us. And, as long as they're willing to work with us on what that's going to look like, we've made sure that their jobs are secure, even if they were just a contractor with us. And then, I say thank you and I appreciate you. And I give my little spiel about that too. So
It's so important. I think I learned that from my virtual assistant role, that that role is a lot of order taking, and to find a client that really thanks you more than once a year at Christmas time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Right. Like that. I
Yeah.
appreciate that too. I did. But to really, when I would get a note that just said, I see you, I validate you, I know what you're doing. It just made such a difference in my day, in my working relationship with them. It was big. Yeah. It's a little different with coaching. I mean, people are appreciative, but I usually don't get an email like months later, like, hey, you really made a difference.
Yeah. But when you do, it's so nice.
And I think about that myself too. I'm like, you would really like this, so you should do it. You should, pay it forward or whatever to like someone who helped you. And yet I forget, it's like, I'll be driving and I think of that and then I should make a note for myself right now to do that to my mentors. So talk to me a little bit. What do you think was one of the biggest mistakes you made, or we can call it a learning experience, while growing your business? And what did you learn from it? We've talked about investments. We've talked about contractors. Is there something outside of that that you think really made you trip up and say, whew, no, let's not do that ever again?
Yeah. I mean, working with specific clients, looking at the revenue that was going to be coming in, even though I knew they were not maybe the type of client that I like to work with, and choosing to work with them anyway, because those numbers looked nice, when you're first starting out, that happens a lot, I think, because you just want a client, you just want to work with anybody. When you start to grow your business and you can be a little bit more picky, you should. And I was far enough along in my business that I should have known and I should have said no. But I said yes. I started working with a client. They were very needy, calling me 7 p.m., 9 p.m. at night, not listening to my advice, which, that's fine. But then getting upset because they didn't listen to my advice, getting upset with me. Anyway, it was a very hard situation. On top of that, their business was failing and they were getting really close to that point. And I think that they really knew that. They were afraid to really look at the numbers, but they knew that. And I think that's why they lashed out as much as they did. And I finally, I was actually pregnant at the time with my second child, and it was causing me high blood pressure. And so I had to make the decision to leave that company and not work with them anymore. And they were very, very upset about it. It was not a peaceful end, but immediately I knew it was the right decision. And immediately I had, I felt relief. Of course, I had loss of revenue from that, and it was a big hit, but I never should have taken it in the first place. And I made it back up with the right clients afterwards. But it was a huge learning experience.
But I sometimes have that gut feeling, and I would say, I shouldn't take this on, but the money's really good.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I mean, the money's good enough that it'll all be fine. No.
Nope. And it never is. It never is. I mean, we should learn. And I think I have learned. I'm sure that I'll be tempted again, if it comes up, but hopefully I'll be strong.
Mm. So have you ever thought about selling your business? What is your long-term plans? Where do you see your business
Yeah.
going?
I've not. And actually I actually got an opportunity to go on a reality TV show for small business owners.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, it's really cool. And it's not streaming on any big stations or anything right now. They're trying to. So maybe one day I'll get to be on Netflix or something like that. But on the show, we learned a lot about businesses. Like the approach they take is they work with a lot of startup businesses. And the reason these businesses come into play is the idea of growing it and then selling it. So it was very interesting because I know financially how to help a startup and financially how to help a business that is going to sell, but I had never really considered it for my own. And then that's when I realized that I have more of a lifestyle business. I want to grow my business. I want to serve my clients, but I am also growing this business to reach my goals and to reach my financial goals in the future, for me to have a comfortable retirement, for my children to be comfortable, to have what they need, for us to travel. It's really serving our lifestyle needs. And that's really when I decided too, that I like working with clients that feel the same, that they want their business to serve their personal goals and needs. And so I'm able to help them a little bit better now that I'm more clear on that.
Hmm. That's great. What are your goals? What do you think your goal is for like 5-10 years from now, or even bigger picture?
Yeah. So I would love to live in a house on the beach. That's actually what I'm currently obsessing about, watching Caribbean Life on HGTV. And I would just, more so than that, I want to have less stress than I have now. I mean, I think I've built my business, in a good way, but there's still a lot of stress. There's still a lot of things that come up. I want to be a little bit more hands off. I want to make sure that my team is fully embodying what I want as far as that holistic approach with our clients, and feel comfortable that they are handling that and taking care of that. So I can step back a little bit and travel more with my children. My kids are 5 and 3 now. So in the next couple of years, I want to be able to travel with them so that they remember, and so that they can create these memories of different locations. My husband is actually from Colombia, South America. So he grew up learning more about different cultures than I learned growing up here. Growing up in the South in the US. And I didn't really ever travel out of the country. My mom never left our hometown. And so I want them to just have a more worldly view, and us to just be able to go where we want and do what we want, and help others as we're able to.
Hmm. What hurdles do you think you've faced specifically as a woman when growing and running your business?
I would say the biggest hurdle that I faced as a woman is nothing in particular, like with another individual, but it's very connected to my mindset. In this industry, in the 9-to-5 world, it's very male dominated. And especially in one of my main jobs that I had in my 9-to-5, that I was there for a couple of years, it was all of the management were males, and it was truly treated like a good old boys club. They would, come in whenever they wanted to. They would take several hour-long lunches. They would leave when they wanted to. They would all come and meet in one person's office, laughing, goofing off, honestly telling inappropriate jokes, and just really thought that they could do and say what they wanted, and honestly made me feel very small, not just as a worker, but as an accountant and as a woman. And I felt like I had to prove that I was smart and that I knew what I was talking about. And it definitely has come into play since I've had my business. I do work primarily with women. I'm not opposed to working with a man, but I start to find myself feeling like I have to prove something when I do. And so it's a lot easier for me to connect with a woman. It's a lot easier for me to be myself. Now I've had some really good relationships with male clients after they've shown me that they're not, prejudiced towards women and stuff like that. But it definitely, it's a trigger that I have that I'm still working through.
I can understand that. Yeah, I mean, because my background came from mostly a woman-dominated field, but it was a woman-dominated field that supported men. And that's always something that I'm working through too. So I got it. What advice do you have for women who are trying to grow their business right now from 6 figures to 7? And why do you think some women hit roadblocks or fail or don't make it?
I don't know. I can't attest to the mindset that men go through, but my guess is that women doubt themselves a lot more than men do, probably from different experiences they've had in the industry. So I would say, if you're having doubts, first of all, know that it's not the truth. I call them bully voices. Your bully voices are attacking you and they're telling you lies to hold you back and to keep you safe. It's not true. I mean, just take my word and other people's word for it. It's not the truth. And you can still move forward, whether you need to find a mindset coach or a life coach or even a therapist to help you work through some of that. Don't think, well, that's the truth, because it's not. It's lies that those bullies are trying to tell you.
I've never heard bully voice. I like that.
Yeah.
When next time I get like this, I don't know, this doubting voice, I'm going to say that's a bully voice.
Yeah.
Listen to it. So share with us, where can we find you, your website, social media handles, anything like that, or where you're most active in case our audience wants to connect with you?
Yeah. So whether you want to connect just to learn more, or whether you're interested in the education side or possibly even hiring my firm, I would send you to taxsavvypros.com. That's still our main website. That's still where we house all of our information on our accounting firm, as well as our courses and coaching. And I have a couple of freebies too that you might be interested in. So I'd love for you to check that out. I also hang out mostly on Facebook, Meagan Hernandez, and I would love to see you over there.
Awesome. Thank you. What is one philosophy, mantra, or quote that you try to run your business by?
I definitely am going to have to recycle what I said earlier and be the person now that you want to become.
Yes. I was wondering if you're going to say that again. I do like that one though.
It's my favorite.
Thanks so much for joining me, Meagan. And for our audience, if you're listening to this show and you really liked Meagan, you want to hear more about her advice, then make sure you sign up for the Tipping Jar of Wisdom, our newsletter that goes out every Thursday that will share her actionable advice. And please help us grow the show. Share this with people you think that might be interested, that like to learn about business, that are growing their business and really liked Meagan's story and the connection they found, or you found, with her. So until next time, be sure you can find me on LinkedIn or Instagram at Virtually Curie. So thank you, Meagan, again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.